This is the best monitor that I've ever used, and it is the Dell 39.7-inch 5K ultra-wide monitor, and it's my favorite monitor in pretty much every single way. Now sure, this monitor isn't for everybody, as made very clear by the $1,900 price point, which puts it on par with a lot of high-end TVs. I've been using this monitor for quite a while now, and since we're about a year out from the original release of this monitor, I wanted to give you guys a full review after using this monitor for a couple months, let you guys know my use case, what I actually think of it, and whether this behemoth of a monitor is worth the price. But first, I want to give a huge thank you to the sponsor of today's video, Wondershare Recover It. Have you ever lost data? Like maybe your hard drive got corrupted and you lost some important family photos, or maybe you can't find what you're looking for on your SD card. Well, I can tell you from personal experience, losing data absolutely sucks. In fact, it happens to me way more than it should. Specifically when it comes to recording these videos, whether it's for this channel or my main channel, I end up losing footage a lot. As the name suggests, Wondershare Recover It can recover all of your photo files, video files, important files, audio files, whatever it is that you're trying to recover, they've got you covered. Wondershare Recover It supports data recovery from 2,000 plus storage devices, 1,000 plus file formats, and also 500 plus real-life data loss scenarios like formatting system crashes and viral attacks. And I always personally turn to Wondershare Recover It whenever my SD card gets deleted or a file gets corrupted so that I can save my videos and not have to completely refilm them, which is the worst. Plus, Wondershare Recover It now has Mac compatibility. Although I have been using it on Windows computers in the past, I primarily use it for Mac, and it's the best. Using Wondershare Recover It is really easy. All you need to do in the case of an SD card, which is how I mainly use this program, I plug the SD card into the computer and then I select the files that I want to recover. And now, in addition to their Mac compatibility, Wondershare Recover It has released their V13 update, which has upgraded data recovery for external devices like SD cards and an optimized user experience. I'd love to know what you would recover if you could recover something using Wondershare Recover It. Now don't get crazy with your comments, but still, let me know what you'd recover in the comment section down below. I probably shouldn't open that can of worms. Regardless, check out Wondershare Recover It, download it for free, and try it out by clicking the link in the top of the description below. And once again, huge thank you to Wondershare Recover It for sponsoring today's video. But let's go over the specs first. This monitor has a curved 40-inch display, or I guess more accurately, a curved 39.7-inch display from corner to corner. It has a resolution of 5120 by 2160, which is the equivalent to having two 2569 by 2160 monitors side by side, which means that this monitor has a 21:9 aspect ratio. It's definitely an ultra-wide. It has a 120 Hz refresh rate, which is absolutely usable for anything that I would ever use this monitor for. Obviously, it's not as fast as some of the more modern gaming monitors, which honestly are also a little bit cheaper, but that's because this isn't technically a gaming monitor. It's an IPS black display with a 2000:1 contrast ratio, and even though it's not an OLED, you still get some very deep blacks. It's got support for 1.07 billion colors. Don't think I've ever seen that many colors in my entire life. And 99% DCI P3 and display P3. And I had no idea what that meant, so I did some research, and apparently that means that it can reproduce 99% of the colors within the DCI P3 color space, which is a standard for wide color gambit used in cinema. It's an HDR display, and it gets up to 600 nits of brightness, which is fine. It's not going to blow you away. I do wish it got a little bit brighter, but it'd probably be a lot more expensive if that was the case. It also has an ambient light sensor, so it can automatically adjust the brightness depending on the room that you're in to make it a little bit easier on your eyes. All of that is great. I mean, look at the monitor, it looks incredible, but where this monitor really sets itself apart is the pure multiplicity of ports that you get on the back of it. I'm not kidding. There's over a dozen. I have less eggs in my fridge than this monitor has ports. It's got an HDMI 2.1, it's got a display port, it's got Thunderbolt 4 downstream, which means you can daisy chain a bunch of monitors together. Another Thunderbolt 4 capable of 140 watt charging. You've got a USB-C upstream. You've got 4 USB Type A downstreams, an audio line out, a 2.5 multi-gigabit Ethernet port, and all of that's just on the back. And then click this little hidden compartment on the left side of the display, and you've got 2 more USB-Cs and another USB Type A. Do you need this many ports? Absolutely not. But I'm not gonna lie, it's nice to have all of them. I primarily use this monitor plugged into my MacBook via a Thunderbolt 4 cable, which obviously charges my MacBook and gives me audio and video and all sort of good stuff. In fact, right now it's what it's plugged into. I have my audio engine speakers plugged directly into the monitor via the audio out port, and then plugged into the display port, I've got my NZXT desktop computer. One of the killer features of this monitor is the fact that you can partition it between 2 different systems. So, because it's such a wide monitor, I can have my live streaming setup or my gaming setup on one side, and then my video editing setup on the other side, one running off of my desktop and one running off of my MacBook. This is all very simple and easy to do through the built-in menu system that comes on this Dell monitor. It's not bloated, it's not filled with a bunch of crap that you don't need. You just use a little joystick in the back of the monitor and scroll up and down through the things that you want to adjust. That said, you probably don't need to use 2 monitors all the time, and if that was the case, you probably wouldn't be buying this monitor specifically, you'd be buying 2 separate monitors. Like I mentioned before, the color accuracy on this monitor is excellent, which makes it ideal for photo editing and video editing, and that's why this is my go-to monitor whenever I'm editing a video. The color accuracy is better than any monitor that I've ever ever used. And because it's got this anti-glare coating, it does a really great job of sort of diffusing the glare. I mean, you can see there is a little bit of glare from one of my windows right up there, and the light's kind of glaring it a little bit, but compared to a shiny monitor or a standard monitor, it's night and day. Now, all of that said, this is a curved monitor, and because it's a curved monitor, when you do get glare, it comes in at odd places. It's not really a huge deal, and it's never been a big enough deal to where I had to actually adjust the monitor or move it in some way, but it's something to keep in mind and something that I didn't expect to have to deal with when I was buying a curved ultrawide, but it makes sense when you think about it. Speaking of the curve, it's honestly a pretty subtle curve at 2500R, which is the measurement for curves. Now, the lower that number gets, the more curvaceous a screen is. So for example, the Samsung Odyssey, which has a much more pronounced curve, it comes in at 1000R. I really like the curve that Dell went with on this monitor. It doesn't feel like a gimmick. It takes up a little bit less space than a monitor that was just flat and wide would take up, but it's enough that when you glance to either side, it's not gonna feel uncomfortable. I love it. I didn't think a curved monitor was gonna make that much of an impression on me, but genuinely, I don't know if I can go back to a regular monitor, at least an ultra-wide regular monitor. Speaking of the ultra-wide form factor, the fact that this is an ultra-wide monitor makes it amazing for editing videos. As you can see here, I have almost my entire timeline for this video up on the screen all at once. I don't have to zoom in too much, I don't have to zoom out very much. On my regular laptop, I find myself zooming in and zooming out all the time, whereas on this, I can pretty much have the whole thing on the screen at one time. Adjusting this ultra-wide is really easy with the included stand that they give you. You can tilt it up and down, you can twist it from side to side, you can obviously raise and lower it. Now, it's not like a huge amount of raising and lowering, but it's enough to where, I mean, you can go pretty high and pretty low. So far in owning this monitor, I've never gotten to a point where I'm like, this doesn't do what I want it to do. Pretty much every angle that I've needed from it, it can do. It also has a vase mount, so if you want to mount this like a monitor arm, I would suggest trying to get one of the more heavy-duty ones, because this is not a light monitor, but it is capable of switching out the mounts very easily. Design-wise, I really like it. It's simple, it's clean, it's understated. You've got this thin black bezel around the outside. Obviously, the bottom is a little bit thicker because you've got the Dell logo. The back of the monitor, simple silver, nothing crazy, no RGB, no crazy LEDs, nothing to really distract you. It's a simple, clean, professional monitor. And even though it seems like it's encased in pretty much all plastic, it still feels surprisingly premium, as it should for basically a $2,000 monitor. But of course, if you bought this monitor for your home office like I did, you're probably not just using this for work. I mean, let's be honest, we're all sneaking in a gaming session here and there throughout the workday, and this monitor is actually very capable for gaming. Like I mentioned before, it's got a 120 Hz refresh rate, which is more than enough for most modern games. Plus it's 5K, so the resolution is awesome. And again, the color accuracy, perfect. Not perfect, but as close to perfect as you can get currently. Is it the best specifically gaming monitor out there? No, there are definitely much better options for gaming that are probably a lot cheaper than this monitor, but if you're trying to do both gaming and production work, it's hard to beat this. I mean, overall though, it's a solid monitor. It's super fast, at least when it comes to refresh rate. It's big, it's really, really big, and the resolution on this monitor is ridiculous. I've definitely spent a lot of time watching Netflix and YouTube on this monitor, and it's great for content consumption as well as creation. I do think it's probably more so tailored for content creation specifically. Again, for $2,000, you could buy a pretty solid TV, and I think if you're just trying to watch stuff on it, then maybe grab a TV or an OLED monitor instead, but it's really a great workhorse all around. I mean, the screen is gorgeous, the 5K will blow you away, the curve is not too curvaceous to be a problem, it's curved just enough to actually be perfect in my opinion. And those ports, oh man, those ports, there are so many ports. You'll never be wanting for ports on this monitor, it's incredible. After owning this behemoth for a few months now, I can confidently say this is the best monitor that I've ever owned. Now, of course, I haven't owned every monitor, but genuinely, for the work that I do, it's as close to perfect as you can get. But hey, we've talked about all the good things about this monitor, now let's talk about some cons. Are there any cons? Yes, there are cons. First of all, the anti-glare coating that you get on this monitor is good, but when you do get glare, it's a weird glare. It kind of ends up in weird spots on the monitor in places that you wouldn't expect, just purely because of this curve that you got and the specific anti-glare coating that they went with. And I guess the other pretty major con is the price point. Geez, $2,000? That's so much to pay for a monitor. You can buy amazing computers for cheaper than $1,900. To be fair though, I did buy this monitor on sale for around $1,500, I think, so I saved like $400 or $500 on it. You can still find this monitor pretty easily at a lot of places on sale, like B&H, like I think it's $1,650 at the moment, so you're still saving, you know, a couple $100 there. But even for $1,500, it's a lot of money for something that's essentially a computer accessory. Now with that being said, if you do want to grab this monitor for yourself, I've made sure to leave affiliate links to this monitor through the description below and through the YouTube shopping tab on your screen. All that said, if you're a content creator or you edit videos or photos or something like that, it's hard to say that this monitor is not worth the money. I think this monitor is 100% worth it if you do any of those things. If I lost this monitor somehow, like maybe it fell and cracked, or maybe there was a fire or something like that, I would buy this monitor again. I like it that much. But hey, let me know what you think of this Dell 40-inch 5K ultra-wide monitor, whether you have one, whether you recommend it, whether you'd like to get one, or whether you just hate it. Let me know all those thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you all in the next one.